Yesterday proved at least two things. One, that the Rangers are really looking for pitchers still. And two, they have some money. Let's talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, no, that's a truth. There's still no closer, but they are closer. So you can read that one of two ways. Maybe they are closer, but they have no closer. As we welcome you into the DLLS Sports Studios. We're in the big boy studio for a change. John Radigan, Jeff Wilson, it's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Kat was saying the Queen's here, and she was saying, we haven't been in this studio since we got the new countdown, which, geez, that's almost a month now, I think, or thereabouts, a couple of weeks anyway. So here we are, back in the big boy studio. They don't trust us in this one.
Yeah, we break things. Yeah,
we'll break things. They can't keep. Yeah, Kat likes the other one. We do too. I mean, we're not complaining about the other one. But, yeah, we're out here spreading our wings just a little bit. Sitting in the comfy chairs, too. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is a little awkward, the computer on the lap thing.
Yeah.
They're called laptops.
That's right, baby.
So that's what we're doing today. Hope you're doing all right today. We appreciate having you in the chat, as always. Love the fact that you're all in there as we start greeting each other and greeting us and talking about what the heck's going on with the Rangers. The biggest news of which is that they did sign a guy who, Jeff, only became a relief pitcher full-time in his age 31 season.
Yeah, and
it's gone fairly well.
It's gone pretty well. The last 2 years, Jakob Junis has been a pretty good reliever, and once all the closers were off the market, when you saw these lists that various outlets put out of best remaining relievers, he was in the group.
Yeah.
Now he wasn't necessarily there at the start of the year.
No,
but the Rangers are in the financial situation they're in. They're trying to be opportunistic is their key word. And they apparently found an opportunity with this guy who, again, was a starter for a lot of years. So when you look at his career numbers, take that into consideration. The numbers do improve when he works in relief fairly significantly. And so, yeah, you're going to see it. Now, he doesn't blow the doors off of anybody. No. Kind of a slider guy. My first thought, just when looking at his velocity numbers and his pitch repertoire and percentages that he leans on the pitches, kind of reminded me of my first thought was Phil Maton.
Sure.
Kind of a soft thrower with the fastball, but a really good slider and knows how to pitch type of guy. and maybe as he continues as a reliever, he'll figure a couple things out. But, what he does, though, is he gives the Rangers yet another kind of veteran guy.
Yep.
And you assume, just based on the salary and everything, that he's going to be at least in their minds right now kind of a later innings guy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And so we'll see how it plays out, but good for them. That helps create some depth that they need. It takes, let's say, Cole Winn out of the mix in the late innings and allows him to ease himself into a role or earn a late innings role maybe later in the season, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Plus, outs are important in the fifth and sixth innings
right.
too.
They are.
And Cole can cover multiple innings, and and maybe it gives the Rangers, maybe they feel like now, okay, we can really do Jacob Latz as a starter, though, Latz as a reliever again, would have more depth and more options. So that one's still kind of pending. That one's, and like I was saying, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, they haven't committed to him now.
Right.
Seems like as a starter, seems like they are thinking he needs to be a reliever. But if they sign another guy to a major league contract, who knows?
Yeah, which is still a possibility. And we will obviously get some of those answers this weekend as we have an opportunity to talk to some of the Rangers brass at FanFest and other events that are happening this weekend. They're paying Junis $4 million with a mutual option for the second year. And this is a guy who last year, his first year that he didn't start any games at all. And, of course, he started his career in Kansas City as a starter and really didn't have a heck of a lot of success in that role. But last year, his first with as no starts, and he went 66 2/3 with a 2.97 ERA and 55 strikeouts. That speaks to the velocity, and that, kind of raises red flags, if you will, about, like you don't think of him as the last inning, the latest inning guy because of that. Now, that slider that he throws, it acts like a sweeper. It's got such good movement on it. And he's really, last year, I think he leaned a lot more heavily on the changeup.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago in 24, he tried a cutter. I don't know if that's something that the Rangers will ask him to do again. I'm guessing there's a reason he abandoned it. But, 2 fastballs, mostly a sinker, though, instead of the four-seamer. So doesn't give up a ton of home runs, which is always good. He probably walked more guys last year than he'd like, definitely more than he did in 24. But again, and it's kind of, I kind of think back to all these signings that the Rangers made last year and how their research and development guys were like, well, we really liked, in the case of
John Armstrong.
And Patrick Corbin. Really liked how he started using his slider more in the second half of 24. Sure. Little things like that they feel like can work. And they saw in Luke Jackson, they saw his numbers in 2024 and how his strikeout rate against right-handers was so good. And that didn't play out necessarily last season, but they have their own ideas and things like that. And so it'd be interesting once the deal's official, if we have the opportunity to speak with people
Jacob or others
or himself.
Yeah. Over 2 years, he's gone 133 plus innings out of the bullpen and had a sub 3 RA. Right. So you like that. And at Cardua, I saw the comment about seems like a good middle innings guy. And certainly, obviously he could slot into that role. But I think Jeff's point is well taken. We're talking about a guy they're paying $4 million to. They're paying $4 million to him and to Chris Martin of the guys that they have brought in this season.
Yeah.
Those are people they think, are going to be important arms in the bullpen.
Yeah. And great, and I'm sure that he will feel, I don't know if the right word is honored, a shot of confidence that they think that highly of him and trust him in those roles. I'm not sure, but I think, we'll see how it all plays out, of course, and all that stuff. But I think that it's a positive sign. They definitely needed another bullpen arm, and I think you'll probably see a couple more guys added on minor league deals. And again, in spring training, the last few years, the Rangers have been have been active in acquiring talent. And so it would surprise me if, they get a guy on the cheap during spring training to add to the bullpen.
Right. No doubt. We know it's not done, even though the technical off season ends. We know that they could well be working on getting people into camp as they did last year, well on into camp. So that's interesting. They don't have any room on the 40-man roster right now. So they'll have to make some odd decision, maybe not some, but odd decision there to make room for Junis. And there are some pitchers like the guys that we don't even talk about that much who may become candidates, right, to be moved off the 40-man.
Yeah, and really it probably starts with Zach Kent, who they just got off of waivers, and Dom Hamill, who's been on there for a while. The Rangers claimed him on September 27th. So he was, I think that might have, I don't even remember if that was, I think that was the last weekend of, I think it was still the regular season.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michael Otanez is another guy. On the position player side, I know some people have said Justin Foscue. To me, Foscue is kind of an interesting guy because the Rangers have a need for a right-handed hitting first baseman and DH, and guys come at their own rate, of course, and they blossom whenever, and it hasn't happened for him yet. The major league fastball has given him trouble, but if he can figure that out, I think he could be of service to this team. Just the opportunity so far don't lend you to have a lot of confidence in that. Now, I do think that a move will be probably on the pitching side, though.
Yeah, I would think so too. And Mike Bassick, when he was on filling in for you on Friday, and I were talking a little bit about Foscue, and he's a second baseman, right, by trade.
By trade,
and
yeah.
he was always blocked, by a guy named Marcus Semien. About the same time he got drafted, Marcus Semien got signed. Now that there's that opening, boy, wouldn't it be nice to see him? And again, like if he's going to live up to, what was he, the 14th overall pick his year?
14th, yeah. 2020.
If he's going to live up to that, man, this is the year to do it. There's a spot for you at second base. Josh Smith has not secured the spot, right? No.
Right.
But he has to win it in spring training, and then he's got a lot of work to do even after he wins it in spring training. But I hope and I think Justin Foscue might look at this year and this spring as a big opportunity.
Well, he should. He works out in Nashville in the offseason, and he has the same agent as Jake Berger, so there's some connection there. And I really would like to. I mean, I like the guy. That's just that's the problem I get hung up with a lot is I like the guy. And you look at his AAA numbers, and they're not outstanding, but the volume. He eventually is going to, at the end of the year, he's going to have pretty nice numbers.
Sure.
And now the defense is a question, and I think it was when he came out of the draft, from Mississippi State, and it's the Rangers probably have better. They definitely have better defensive second baseman than him. But if he's playing, let's say he's the right-handed bat in a platoon, you figure he's playing probably a third of the time.
Sure.
Can you live with that? We got to keep in mind how important the defense was to this team in their championship year, and then last year too. Yeah. They had the all-time best fielding percentage in Major League history.
Amazing.
And Marcus Semien had a lot to do with that. And again, it's not necessarily if you at minimum you want your guy, if the ball's hit to him, he makes the play.
Right.
But what the Rangers were so good at doing was that, yes, but also, making plays that go beyond the minimum requirement.
Right.
And Marcus Semien was excellent at doing that. He won the Gold Glove. You know? So you're losing some defense there, but I would be elated for Justin if he were given if he earned the opportunity. He's not going to be given anything.
No. And nobody ever is, and that's the thing. If he is going to take even platoon at bats, or get a platoon at bats at second, or certainly if he were able to wrest that position away from Josh Smith, to free Josh up to do what he does so well, which is all the positions, that's something that he'll have to absolutely earn. And really, obviously, the only place to do that is spring training. Now, he's had a couple of drinks in the big leagues, and they haven't gone particularly well for him.
They haven't. He made his debut in 24 and was injured while collecting his first career hit, and he came back up in that that summer, and they were like, all right, we're going to kind of give this guy a look because nobody else was hitting either, and he didn't have any success.
No.
and then last year he was up sparingly a couple of times. I think he got brought to the team once because they were fearful of somebody being injured, and he didn't even get activated.
Right.
But look, he's still in the organization, remains on the 40-man roster as of now, and he's headed to spring training as of now, and he's going to play a lot. And if he takes advantage of it, opens some eyes, they'll have a discussion about it.
Yeah, and that's all to say.
And Ross Fenstermaker loves him. So
he does too.
There's that. Yeah.
And that's all to say, as much as I saw it on social media too, this marks the end of Justin Foscue. I don't believe that's the 40-man move that will be made in order to make room for Jakob Junis. So let's get back to this pitching talk, though. We want to discuss, after spending $4 million on a reliever, is there any more to spend on a starting pitcher, which is certainly something else the Rangers could use. Also, have the Rangers painted themselves into the same corner they were in last year? Let's talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Well, it's official. Wild Fork wings don't guarantee Buffalo victories. Damn it. But Wild Fork wings do guarantee a happy crowd of people watching the Buffalo game, even if they lose to the Denver Broncos in heartbreaking fashion. So Wild Fork Foods is the key, I think. That's the answer here. Anything you're doing will be made better by Wild Fork Foods. Not only do they have wings, of course, they have all kinds of meats. Meats are their thing, and seafood. 750 different kinds of meat, and they come to you frozen, because frozen is fresher than fresh. So we want you to avail yourself the greatness of Wild Fork Foods. 9 locations in DFW with 2 more on the way, but also you can get it online, Wild Fork Foods.
And this episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, where it pays to be right. You don't even need to be right to take advantage of the prizepicks.com/DLS offer. A $5 lineup, place a $5 lineup, and win or lose, they'll give you $50 in free lineups. Pretty funny story while we're talking Bills and Broncos. We were in Denver, my family, and I had allowed my son to make some prize picks to do a lineup. And one of them was Josh Allen scoring a touchdown. And he was saying, boy, I really need Josh Allen to score a touchdown. Yeah. And it was not a popular sentiment with the Broncos crowd. But Josh Allen did not score a rushing touchdown, so my son did not cash. However, somebody else in the family did. I do prize picks every day. I keep saying that. It's fun. It makes things so much more enjoyable. And if you go to prizepicks.com/DLS, you will get $50 in free lineups after your first $5 lineup.
Yeah, we are big fans of all of our advertisers, so please support them as much as you can. So the Rangers...
real quick, Rarities had congratulated me on the Broncos win, so I'd like to say thank you, Rarities.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Another one. Another one's coming on Sunday, no matter who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Hey.
I am not sure. Although the Patriots didn't look that great, and God, the Texans' offense looked awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
I know this isn't a football show, but we were watching football all day, really, both days, and man, that Texans offense was ugly. Texans defense is really good. It has been all year. And I'll say this, the Patriots defense surprised me. I mean, how much of it was that C.J. Stroud was terrible yesterday, and how much of it was that the Patriots defense is better than I thought it was. But anyway, that's a little football talk on this baseball day, as the Rangers have done something, and the fact that they spent $4 million, and it's essentially, it could be a 2-year deal, right? It's not a guaranteed 2-year, thank goodness, Jock Peterson. But it could be a 2-year deal. It's a mutual option. I mean, frankly, I was afraid we were at the point, Jeff, where the Rangers were only looking for $1 million guys, right? So maybe this suggests that there is a little bit more, quote unquote, dry powder,
Well, you would hope so. And I think also as the spring training draws closer, I mean, I think what's the Super Bowl in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So I leave for spring training 3 weeks from today. Okay. And again, like I said in the first segment, I've said throughout this offseason, the offseason now goes until opening day, basically. But I think that players get an itch and they want to know where they're going to play, and they want to make their accommodations in spring training and get everything settled. You know, these guys have families, you know, are their wives and kids going to come? And if so, they want to know too, because it's a mad dash. You don't want to have the mad dash.
No.
So anyway, I think that some guys might be willing to take a little less for peace of mind. And maybe that plays into the Rangers' hands, you know. And as you think about who's still out there and what the Rangers still need, they still need a starting pitcher. And, you know, I've seen in the first segment a lot of guys in the chat were, you know, Zach Gallen. And again, it may come to that. And maybe it's a deal where Zach Gallen has a ton of outs, but you're still getting your guy. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is still another notable move in the, ahead of them.
Zach Gallen's a Boris guy, and I hear the Cubs are in on him, and I would say that the Cubs have more money to spend than the Rangers, but that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean Zach Gallen wants to go there. Doesn't mean Zach Gallen wants to go pitch when it's 32 degrees for the first month of the season of home games. God, it looked cold in Chicago last night. So, yeah, we'll see. Benny's got sobering news if Sport Track is right, that the CBT is estimated right now at 215 and change, Jeff. So they might be done. I'd say this. If that's correct, they are done. They don't want to get much closer than that.
Well,
that 241, or is it 244 this year?
247?
247 this year?
I don't know. But they need another starter, right? I mean,
do. They really do.
They really need to sign another starter, and we'll see how that plays out. Yeah,
and they'll continue to, as Chris Young said, I mean, and you appreciate it, they'll continue to be opportunistic and sort of try to find the right guy. The thing that worries me about the bullpen, Jeff, and I asked the rhetorical question as we went to break, have they painted themselves into the same corner as last year? Which is to say, and I think it's probably an unequivocal yes, which is to say they don't really have a guy who is a proven closer. Now, this year is a little bit different in that they have a guy who has done it, right? That was his job. Last year, all those relief pitchers they brought in who really put up good numbers, and the ERA and the bullpen was considered a good bullpen, but none of them had any significant closing time. In this case, Alexis Díaz has done it in Cincinnati successfully, Jeff.
Yeah, he's definitely the great hope, I believe.
I would think so,
I
too.
think that the Rangers are hoping that after his season of, injury in spring training, a hamstring injury, which knocked him out of whack apparently, and he was never able to fix it. They are encouraged by what they've seen from him this offseason as far as cleaning things up and all of that stuff. And they know the history. And I know this. They hope he's Kirby Yates.
Sure.
And Kirby Yates with arbitration years, though. This isn't going to be. Yeah. This shouldn't be just a 1-year deal. So they hope that the $1 million they're giving him will be just the ultimate value. And now I don't know if he will start the season in that role. Spring training will suggest that we'll be able to get a read on it. But again, like you said, there's not a ton of options.
No.
I don't think anybody wants. And Leon's right there. It appears Robert Garcia. There's a lot of sentiment based on his performance last year as closer that don't want to see that one. Chris Martin too old and injuries, and will he pitch back-to-back days which is like, just a minimum requirement of a closer. You got to be able to go back-to-back days. And then it's too soon, the Rangers feel, for Cole Winn. So, it's going to be by committee, it looks like, to start. But the hope is that Alexis Díaz is the guy.
And the reality is, last year, it was by committee to start as well, with the hope that somebody was going to emerge, right? Yeah. They thought that somebody would grab hold of the reins and become the closer. And, and Luke Jackson went out first game, and it didn't work really well.
Right.
And then, of course, ultimately, Luke was let go. But, anyway, that you hope somebody will grab the reins of that closer role. And that's one of those things that they do. Like, it's just, again, think of the Kirby Yates year. We weren't sure if David Robertson or Kirby Yates was going to be the closer. We figured it would probably be one of them.
Well, it started out as Leclerc,
That's right.
and then
so they were both going to be.
And then Leclerc, it didn't work, and so Kirby, took it over, and it was, it's going to be a temporary thing, and Jose's going to be back, and all this stuff, and Kirby never lost it.
Yeah,
because he saved 33 out of 34.
I think that's it.
Opportunities,
yeah.
And Robertson was so good setting up, and Robertson would come in the seventh a lot of times, and then work the eighth.
Yeah,
and what a year he had. Brett C660, Mark Church's closer. Well, they'd like that too. They'd like to see that happen, but he's probably not going to be ready to go full go at the start of spring training. So I don't think he would make the opening day roster. But yeah, that's another arm that they would love to see. And he throws it, can hit 100. He has a slider and a splitter. They would love to see that. But last year was not a good year for Mark in terms of injuries. Really, the last two, because he did have an oblique deal in 24 that cost him some time.
Yeah, and that becomes that's something obviously that the Rangers look at and have an opportunity to monitor even more closely than we do, right? Like, we know as it pertains to a Tyler Mahle, who they clearly weren't very interested in bringing back. Well, they know every bit of his medicals, right? Similarly, John Gray, who we'd love to see back, and but anyway, they know his medicals. We don't think they're going to probably offer him a deal, a major league deal, based on all that history that he has. So, and he's still out there.
Well, and Josh Sborz, same situation.
Yes, that's exactly right.
They've wanted to bring Josh Sborz back the whole offseason.
Yep.
But I think Josh is trying to hold out for a major league contract, which makes sense, sure. But if one doesn't develop, he should definitely come sign with a team in the city where he lives and where he knows what his chances would be.
Sure.
And he can look at the landscape and be like, I probably got a spot on this team if I show some velocity.
That's
and
right.
Show that my curveball's good, and I could probably pitch for this team. So let's not lose track of Mr. Sborz either.
It's a great point. And again, at this point, I'm sure that what's happening in the Sborz camp and household is he's hoping somebody will still offer him a major league deal.
Right.
I think the Rangers, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've already told him they'd like to have him back on a minor league deal, right?
Well, they have said, on background that there's a lot of risk there. And I think the state of their finances, even if it was $1 million, we're talking about if they're at 215 and they still need a starter, they need to, God, I hate saying this. They need to, save every penny they can.
They do.
Despite the net worth of their owner.
Right.
Ray
But again,
Davis.
I get that they're trying to keep it under the CBT threshold to avoid accelerating that tax next year. And it was such a kick in the groin that they went over it last year because it was only by such a small amount. So anyway, it seems like it'll be very similar to last year. We hope ultimately that the big picture outcome, as far as how good the bullpen was, is similar. But we also hope that there aren't 37 blown saves in the upcoming season, and that maybe a closer emerges from this group. More coming up as we take a look at a busy week for the Rangers and what they're doing and how you can be a part of it, and some of what they've already done. Coming next, it's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Hey, Supporters Club time. It's easy to join. You go to our little YouTube homepage, and there's a join button. You push that, it takes you through the process, and all of a sudden you have access to more stuff that other people don't have, and it's behind the scene videos that nobody can access on our YouTube page unless you are a member. We've praised Kat for her work on the last one. But every beat does them. Stars, Mavs, Cowboys too, and we're gonna have some good stuff coming up. Our season's about to begin, John.
It is.
So we'll have some fun stuff. Maybe we can do something at the ballpark.
100%.
All kinds of fun things. A day in the life of a beat reporter. It's not very exciting, but anyway, to access the stuff, you got to be a member of our Supporters Club. So go to our YouTube homepage and start the process.
Yeah, and also make sure you avail yourself to our newsletter, which is very newsy and very free. Ali does a great job and has all kinds of fun, quick hits on there, as well as the news of the day. The news of the day on this day was just how rough it's been for the Dallas Stars of late. They've, and I mean of long late, since December 23rd, going all the way back that far, they are 2-10, Jeff. That's not a good record in 12 games. 2-10.
No.
And Ali talks a little bit about some of the problems and why and how and all that stuff. It's in the newsletter. It's there for free. And Ali's not even our Stars beat writer. We've got another beat writer. And remember, we're the only media entity in the market with a full-time Stars beat writer. We'll talk about Sam's great work when we get to the Die Hard. We're awfully glad you did. Okay, so several people have mentioned this rumor that Heyman has put out there about Miguel Andjuar. I don't know. I've not heard anything prior to this.
Based on his season last year, why is he still available?
Yeah.
And so he kind of falls into the Jakob Junis crowd, I think. Guys who are good, but maybe there's a reason why they're still available. And the Rangers do need a right-handed bat. There's no question about it. Andjuar can play left field.
Yes. The third baseman, left fielder, right?
Yeah, he can play second. And so it makes some sense. It really does. But if he has, I think Heyman listed 5 teams. He has 5 teams. He's getting a major league contract.
Right.
He's not a Boris guy. Octagon represents him, but that doesn't mean that Octagon's just some pushover. They're going to get their client a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And again, he had a great season. So, hey. Maybe the Rangers do have more money than we're giving credit for. It'd
be fantastic because, again, as in fact, Mike Bassick, when he was on, had been watching our show about the batting order versus lefties and righties, and he wanted to revisit the one against lefties, just going, you got to give a couple of those lefties, Corey Seager, Brandon Nimmo, right? You got to give them some rest days, and if you're going to do that, it'll be against lefties. So, all of a sudden, you're taking 5 regulars out of the lineup when you're facing left-handed pitching. There's no depth. They need another right-handed bat. So, it's definitely a need, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and
has been. It was last offseason.
I don't think, though, that Andjuar would be looking for a part-time role. He's going to want 500 at bats, just the season he had last year. Maybe it's a case where less is more with him, and you don't want to overexpose him and things like that. Because last year he had 341 at bats. All right, so yeah, he was a part-time player, but maybe he feels like he deserves more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be something worth watching. Like Jeff said, there are 4 or 5 other teams interested, and at this point, any and all of them are also looking to make that sort of opportunistic deal. This isn't a guy who everybody had their eyes on at the beginning of the free agency period.
Right.
This isn't a Zach Gallen. This isn't some Framber Valdez, who's still out there as well. And no doubt both of them, Framber in particular, are still waiting for that big free agent deal. It'll be interesting to see what he ends up getting because of they're not even off the field issues, because of sort of non-baseball, those sort of attitudinal issues that he's demonstrated.
Yeah, he's not on parole or anything.
No,
I mean, he as far as I know, he has a clean criminal record.
Yeah,
but just what we hear from our counterparts there in the Astros world.
Bad guy.
He's not a good guy.
No, he's a bad guy. Yeah. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. A lot of the players are already in town to begin a pretty busy week. It's the Winter Carnival, and who knew that the Winter Carnival would be so wintry by the end of the week? Yeah. But they're talking about snow and ice and I don't know what all for Fan Fest. Someone asked earlier in the chat if the Fan Fest would go on as planned, even with bad weather moving in. I never remember there being bad weather, but I do remember it being super cold years past, and it still went on. But I don't know if they would even consider. I don't think they would consider moving it for snow or ice. I mean, Well,
I mean, a lot of the players will be here, staying probably at the nice Lowe's hotel there, so they just could make a quick walk and be here. That maybe they would like delay the start, put kind of like with the schools push back the start. I don't know. I'll check in on that. I'm sure if they don't have a plan for that, they're scrambling to work on one now. I do remember some cold Fan Fests at the old ballpark.
Me too.
When it was outside and you'd have to walk the terminal to find, they were all spread out, up in the Diamond Club and then down in the Cuervo Club, and you'd have to walk that dang concourse and be freezing to death.
Yeah.
So weather will not be an issue once inside Globe Life Field. But, and hopefully it won't be outside.
Yeah, either. And hopefully getting there, won't be an issue. But that's basically the culmination of a busy week. It started in many ways with the backyard battle, which is Josh Young's wiffle ball game. And what I loved about this, Jeff, is just seeing, the number of players, but in particular in this case, Corey Seager's there.
Right.
It's not just Josh's other young guys. You see Jake Berger and Josh Smith, among others, in the background, but everybody's out there supporting Josh, but also just kind of getting together. They realize, everybody does, this is the time of year we slide back into baseball mode.
Right. And I was unable to attend this year's event. My apologies to Josh, who really was excited last year, putting it on. He was bouncing around and going from site to, field to field, if you will, and didn't turn down a media request, very open about it. And it was mostly local guys last year. Corey is not a local guy. And now he is going to be at Fan Fest, so maybe he and the wife came in a little bit early. They got to make sure the nursery's all set up for the new baby and all that in their house here, whatever. But that's good to see. Berger, of course, is also Nashville based, and to see him here. Now I do believe it was reciprocal because Josh went to his event in November. But there are a lot of good guys out there.
There are
on this team, and Josh, despite his injury history in the last couple of years, he's still on this roster, and he still wants to impact the community as a lot of these guys do. So good for him. And it is a fun time. I mean, you got the super serious, pro guys.
Yeah.
And then you just have like a bunch of little league teammates out there, just swinging for the fences. So
fun.
I hope he raised a bunch of money, and it will go to good use.
Yeah, and Josh and Jake Berger might be the keys. Those two guys on the corners of the infield, right, might be the keys to this offensive, resuscitation that the Rangers hope to experience this year. If those two guys can be who we've seen them be before, it's huge. It makes that lineup so much longer, Jeff, and so much more potent and so much more dangerous, and you don't allow the pitcher to take a breath because every guy in that lineup is and Jock Peterson obviously falls into that category too. But those two young guys in particular, I think, are big on that. And those two guys, by the way, will be right over here, kind of in the farmers market area at the Hurtado Barbecue tonight, as there is a ticketed event for, the Rangers fans to attend. And you go to the Hurtado, there will be a live radio show there. I assume it'll be on the flagship 105.3. And so some of those guys, or maybe Jared, will be a part of kind of a round table with guys. Autographs are available at the event tonight. Excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. Nope.
Oh, all right.
Maybe. Stand by. Nope. And today there's a caravan, I'm still calling it the carnival stop at the Kroger's on Mockingbird in Dallas. And that's at 4:00. So get on over there and you get a chance to see them. There was some clarity provided over the weekend about how so many of the stops, even in outlying posts like, Austin or San Antonio or Tyler, the first half of the line was always filled with the same people who represented card shows and who represented, basically professional autograph hounds. Right. And so that it was not as easy for fans to get to the players because those people were basically paid to stand in line and so forth, right?
Right.
So that's one of the ideas behind not having autographs available at these individual stops, so that you as a fan can go there and get a picture. You can get a picture with your favorite player, and it's just kind of a meet and greet, and you can chat with them too. But they were trying to eliminate, and they say they're trying it for this year, but just basically, Jeff, trying to eliminate making this into sort of a merchandising event for card shops and all those people who are out there collecting autographs.
Yeah, and we see them.
We do.
We see
I'd
them
recognize them. Yep.
Right, and early on in spring training, the only people there are really the professional autograph sellers, I guess. Now, and it gets in the way, and it's unfortunate. And I think that the thing is, the players know too.
They do.
They're not.
They recognize them too. Yeah.
They're like, oh, this guy wants my autograph. So no, this guy wants to sell my autograph.
Yeah, he wanted it yesterday, and he wanted it the day before, and he wanted it the day before. Yeah,
he's going to want it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Marcus Simeon had mentioned that in when we were there. I was there in Seattle at the trade deadline, and there was a kid who had made a really nice drawing of Marcus, put a lot of effort into it. And I said, hey, Marcus, there's a kid over. I told him, this kid, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And so Marcus went over and autographed it for him and signed some others. But he was like, is this a professional thing? I was like, no, it's a little kid.
Yeah.
He's not looking to sell this thing. It's something he drew himself. And Leon, you have mentioned because you like to get autographs, and a lot of people do, and that's great. But when it's and the Rangers aren't dumb either. They know.
Yeah.
So
they know who the real fans are.
Yeah.
And Rarities, to answer your question, the Rangers as a team or an organization do not own homes for their players to live in. But what is surprising is how many players who come into town, especially if they're on kind of a shorter term deal and or if they've made some money, you'll say, whose house are you, where are you living? Oh, I'm renting. This isn't a good example because he lives here, but I'm renting Cole Hamill's old house.
Yeah.
Like the players who used to be here who aren't here anymore.
Right.
They sometimes still have houses, and so there's a little network among the players.
Yeah.
And they all know.
Well, the first time I remember that was, Ron Mahay was part of the Mark Teixeira trade for Jared Saltalamacchia. Well, Saltalamacchia was living in Mahay's house.
Okay, right.
The next year. So, it works out in crazy ways. Last year, Corbin lived in Max Scherzer's house.
Right.
And I think if you have the means to invest in a home, you're going to do it.
Yes.
But some guys do right. If they're on 1 year deal, they're like,
And especially, again, 1 year for $1 million, you don't feel too sorry for Patrick Corbin, but 1 year for $1 million, you're not going to buy anything here, even though he's made plenty of money in the past. He could, but he's not going to.
It just it takes a lot of the hassle away.
Right.
But we did remember Patrick got bit by a spider out barbecuing.
That's right.
And it was like was Max not paying the exterminator bill.
Mad at Scherzer.
You talk to your landlord about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that. And when they're here on these deals, like Jeff said, a lot of times, like this is a team sponsored thing. So the team will often put them up in like one of the Lowe's hotels that's right there.
Yeah.
I think the team might also have a couple of apartments over in that new apartment building. But I think those are reserved for like big money wigs and stuff like that.
One Ranger's Way.
Yeah, One Ranger's Way. Thank you.
Yep.
More coming up as we get to our cleanup segment and get through a day of fun baseball talk next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Hey, Die Hard talk. John was just teased it in our last ad break. Talk about the greatness of Sam Nessler, who apparently went to Miami or is a huge Miami fan because he's wearing a University of Miami hat. Don't hold that against him.
Yeah,
he can cover some hockey now, and just like Clarence and Ali do a great job with the Cowboys and our whole team. Ron, we were talking to Ron about the Mavs and all that jazz before our show, and I actually wrote something last night about the bullpen and published it this morning. So there's something every day that you want to read that is behind the paywall, and the only way to access it is to become a diehard either by scanning that wonderful QR code, going to our website, or going to alldls.com/intro, where I believe there is still a nice, affordable way for you guys to become diehards. You won't regret it. You get a free shirt, you get 20% off of our events, 20% off the merch, and you get smarter.
Yeah, and smart is good. And, fashion forward is good too. And actually, I'm not sure T-shirts are really fashion forward, but they do stand the test of time. And so do hoodies, which sounds like we're all going to need by this weekend when things get awfully chilly here in the Metroplex. I saw a low temperature one of the nights in the teens, Jeff. So add that Texas wind to it. That's going to feel like zero.
Yeah.
You need a hoodie. Easy place to get one. Store.allcitynetwork.com. Not only will it keep you warm, it'll allow you to rep your favorite digital media company.
Yay!
Hell, I'll say it. Your favorite media company.
Yeah. We got to be.
We can take away digital. It's the whole thing. It's all there. All the T-shirts, all the styles, all the designs, the hats, and everything else we have is all there at store.allcitynetwork.com.
So if you were going to go to Colorado in the wintertime, what's the one thing you'd really want to make sure you packed?
A winter coat.
Yeah, I forgot mine. So we had
and
to.
You're the coldest man on the planet.
So we had to buy a coat Friday morning when we got up into the mountains. And man, was it warm. The coat. It was not warm in Colorado. So maybe that gave us a taste of what's ahead.
Yeah, you may.
Me and the family.
Maybe needing it this week.
I didn't bring the heated vest. I mean, I just forgot everything.
Wow.
I really, it came back. Henry had a baseball lesson at at 5, and Molly, who had the whole thing, the whole itinerary, was holding us gun to our head to stay on schedule. And in my efforts to please her, I forgot my coat.
Nice.
Yeah.
But you got to make time. You got to make your you got to make your deadline. She kept us on
schedule, and she said, "I think my schedule worked too well because we were there so early." I was like, "Well, or we could have just pushed it back a little bit."
Yeah, we could have pushed it back, and I'd have a coat. But anyway, you get a new coat out of the deal, so that's good. Boy, how about the Braves' luck on this Hae-Sung Kim deal? He's out 4 to 5 months.
God, they signed him for like $20 million.
Signed him for $20 million, just a 1-year deal, but $20 million to be shortstop. And speaking of cold winter weather, and does Korea have all kinds of weather?
Yeah.
I mean, is part of their country like part of our country is, where it's tropical? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so anyway.
Well, no, I don't know about the tropics because they're the only. I think the only water they're attached to is the Japan, Bay of Japan or Gulf of Japan. But
they get winter clearly.
Yeah, well, like when Profar was on our team, and he was competing for Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic, and they were shipped off to Korea, and he didn't bring a coat.
Oh, wow.
And he got off the plane, and it was like 2 degrees.
Wow.
So Jurickson went and bought a coat.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very similar situation.
Except I knew it was cold in Colorado.
Right. Yeah, you already knew. You just didn't have one. So, that's that. And it's interesting because he slipped on the ice, Kim. 30-year-old guy. And it happens. And he apparently tore ligaments in the middle finger. When I first saw he tore ligaments in the middle finger, I'm like, man, how hard was he whipping that bird out?
Yeah, cut off.
Yeah.
Really pissed him off.
Yeah. But apparently, no, it had more to do with actually hitting the ice. And, of course, any human, first thing you do, put one of those hands down. And,
that's the worst. Yeah. Just fall on your shoulder.
Or your hip if you can.
Yeah.
Especially if you're young, 30 years old like he is.
That's how I broke my arm. Both times I broke my arm, I was falling back. And so now I know I'm falling, boom, arms crossed. I just fall on my butt.
Really?
Yep.
I broke my wrist once doing that too, falling. Actually, I'm not going to lie. Diving for a loose ball in a pickup game at the Wyndham Hotel in Austin, Texas.
Oh, John.
We were playing a little basketball, and I went to try it, and then
that's a little too serious.
Yeah, we were taking it a little too serious.
Yeah.
I had to. It was my right hand. I had to drink left-handed that night. It was not easy.
You figured it out.
That's a sacrifice I had to make that night. So, so he's out 4 to 5 months. This is sad news, and some of our younger people in the chat, I know we have some people who have some age, like Jeff and I do, but Wilbur Wood died at age 84 over the weekend.
Man, Wilbur.
Yeah, and this might be the best left-handed knuckleballer in history,
I mean, I think it's a pretty small
It is a
pool.
small pool. It is. But that said, guy was throwing 300 innings a year.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I wish the knuckleball would come back. I really do.
Me too.
Because it
was fun to watch.
Yeah, when a knuckleball is knuckling the right way, those hitters and those catchers they have no idea where it's going.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and I remember the very first Tim Wakefield start I covered. It was in Boston. It was on Patriots Day. Kinsler homered that game, but Wash was asked, "Well, what do you do with a knuckleball? See it high, let it fly. See it low, let it go." And that stuck with me. It's so simple, but it's so right.
Yeah. See it high, let it fly.
See it low, let it go.
It's interesting. My favorite, sort of knuckleball story, because again, Jim Sundberg caught, the great Charlie Huff for a lot of years here, and you'd say to Jim, "How do you catch the knuckleball?" And Sonny would say, "Well, I usually just wait till it stops rolling, and then I go over and pick it up. I ain't catching that thing." So, it would be, especially too with catchers how they are nowadays. It always feels to me like they aren't quite as mobile with down on one knee. I know they'll argue that they are. But anyway, I always wonder if they could, there would be I think there'd be a lot of pass balls if the knuckleball was still a thing today. Well,
but they don't really use catcher's gloves. They use I don't know if they use softball catching gloves
Maybe.
or, a bastardized first base glove, but it's a different glove even.
Yeah. Wilbert showed his grip. Do all knuckleballs, or he was lefty, but he had his fingers on top.
Yeah.
Is that how all are they actually?
I always thought there were some that were
that was it.
Yeah, but it's some on top, and then a lot of it has to do with your thumb, where you place your thumb.
Yeah.
So
anyway, pretty cool. Now it's Martin Luther King Day, and we have not forgotten that, and we are like everybody else today. Well, we're not like you, many of you today. We didn't get the day off, but we are certainly remembering and honoring, the memory of a very brave and a great American in Martin Luther King. And today's the day that the country celebrates his life and truly still mourns his death. But I did not know about this until today, Jeff. But back in 1968, 1970, he was killed in 68.
Yeah.
2 years later, in March 26th or 28th of 1970, they put together an East-West Major League Baseball Classic. And it was an all-star game. And nobody really remembers who won, and nobody really cares. But they got 51,000 fans out at Dodgers Stadium to watch there were a whole bunch of major leaguers who just agreed to come out. Obviously, in those days, that would have been right at the tail end of spring training, March 28th, and they played an all-star type exhibition game, and all the money raised went to help, that Justice League that Dr. King started, and 14, Jeff, future Hall of Famers were in that game.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we have a pic here. Yeah, so there's a few of them, and I saw Johnny Bench was there. So it was obviously a lot of players, African-American players, Hispanic players like you see there, but Johnny Bench was there, and Mrs. King, Loretta Scott King, was there as well to throw the first pitch to the great Johnny Bench. So that's great. That's a way for us to remind you that it is Martin Luther King Day. Also, that Dream Series, and we talked about this last year. It's in Phoenix, Arizona, and they get 80 of the best, mostly African-American kids as they try to encourage, kids of color and kids of less means to be able to be pitchers and catchers. And that's in Arizona this weekend. And among the graduates who are in the major leagues of that are our very own Kumar Rocker.
Oh.
He was at that event a few years ago. So that's happening this week in Arizona. Another nod, to the fact that, Martin Luther King opened so many doors for so many people and did so many great things. And so anyway, I'm really glad because, the narrative is pretty clear. It's so expensive this, Jeff, so expensive to play the game of baseball. And you start adding in travel baseball and everything, and these kids, don't have an opportunity. It's also the reason we have these academies, these MLB academies, is so that these kids can get basically a fighting chance. So anyway, that's all happening this weekend. That's all happening still this day, a day on which we honor Martin Luther King. Don't forget, too, that tonight you have a chance to see, well, today, who is it? Josh Smith and might be Tyler Alexander at the Kroger on Mockingbird. And then Josh Young and Jake Berger right over here at Hurtado Barbecue tonight on a round table. That one, as I mentioned, a ticketed event. the Kroger on Mockingbird. That's free. No autographs on Mockingbird. You can get autographs at Hurtado. That's what's happening. We're off and running on a week of baseball. We're really glad to have you guys in the chat. And we're really glad to have you watching and checking us out each and every day. And we'll see you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.